Be okay, girl, there ain't nothing I wouldn't do. If they gave me everything, I would give it all away for you. Give it all away, all away. With you, I know I'll be okay, girl, there ain't nothing I wouldn't do.
Why do people underestimate the power of community in shaping their marriage?
Why? Honestly, I think the reality is that a lot of people think that they have the power. For instance, a lot of people believe I'm strong-willed. I won't let anyone influence me. I make up my own mind. I have my own power, my own autonomy, and outside forces won't get in the way of what it is that I ultimately want to do. And I think because people believe that to be true, this is the reason why a lot of people think that any community can be around you. And I also think this is why people keep community connected to them, but doesn't necessarily service who they are now.
Maintaining entirely separate social circles can negatively impact marital quality, particularly for women. This separation may lead to feelings of isolation or divided loyalties. Friendships that lack mutual growth or support can impede personal development. Such relationships may foster negative behaviors or attitudes, limiting one's potential and well-being.
And I think that in that case, people need to be really careful because, it's when you made this commitment, your spouse is your person. They're your person. And they're, after God, they're supposed to be next, and I think that, a lot of people have a really hard time with accepting that. And then that is, I think, a big point. And it isn't just friendships, it's community. So it's family too. There are some family members that also, like, by their actions and how they're behaving as it relates to your life, are directly putting you at, causing issues within your marriage. And I think that's something you gotta figure out you gotta know what's important. And it isn't that you're turning your back on these people. It's just that your life is important. And if what you decided is important, then you've got to make that the priority over maintaining these connections that are basically causing disconnection in your main connection.
Absolutely. I mean, if it's going to cause any disruption or disconnection in your marriage, it's not worth it, right? Family. I mean, I feel like a lot of times, depending on the rank, if that makes sense, you have parents, you have siblings, you have aunts, uncles, cousins, depending on how they feel they rank in your life, they feel like they have the authority to interject or to correct. I think it's really important to be careful as to what you're sharing, regardless of who it is. It can be to your family. It could be to your friends. It could be to your coworkers. You want to make sure that you're careful as to how you're representing your marriage and also how you're representing your spouse, because what you say about your spouse says something also about you and how you move. Let's
talk about that, because you and I have talked about this before. Like, I think one of the important things that happens a lot of times is that people get so prone to talking about the challenges they're having in their own life that they then make it okay to share what's going on in their personal space with others. And one of the things that Sophie and I have talked about a lot is that like you have to be very careful because you and your partner are going to make up. You're going to heal whatever it is. You hope that you resolve it and it's going to be fine. But those outside forces won't know all the particulars of what it took to get there. They may still hang on to whatever the infraction or the challenges were. And then there's judgment that takes place, and there's friction that takes place. And so this space you occupy with your partner should be a sacred space. And there should be things that are only for the two of you and that are for no one else. And I think that is like one area in community where what you share with your community is also extremely important, and understanding what things you need to keep internally between you all, and then other things, that you are willing to share. You just have to be careful about that, because that also, I think, leads to it. Because then you got to remember, your family, your friends are there to protect you. They're there to fight for you, right? And I've read this somewhere. It was saying that whenever you have problems in your relationship, the people you reach out to should always push you back towards your person. Those are who you confide in. You confide in the people who push you back in the direction of your person. If the person you're confiding in is pulling you away, they're not a person you can trust. And I think that a lot of people don't evaluate that when they're seeking help. Is this person just looking after me, or is this person caring about us, our unity, our unit?
I can appreciate that. Absolutely. I think in all fairness, I think people they need an outlet, and they trust their friend, they trust their family member or whoever they confide in to be able to have conversations, or even maybe get a little bit of guidance. Sometimes they may come to you and say, hey, I'm having this experience, I'm not exactly sure what to do. I think if you're approaching it like that, and that person is like you said, pushing you or leaning you back towards your spouse, then yes, in that case, yeah, that might be helpful for you. But if that person is kind of, pulling you away, when you tell your story to them and they're like, oh yeah, girl, or yeah, man, heck that, forget that, man, just leave him or just leave her. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, like that's not necessarily the advice that I'm really trying to come to you for, but it happens and you see it a lot of times. So I think what couples need to keep in mind is to just be aware of how much you're sharing. Sometimes you can share an instance. Sometimes it's okay to share a situation. But when you get into intricate details as to this, and that, they can't unhear that. So now you've worked it out with your person, and then the person you told it to, they got that fresh in their mind, and they're like, okay, so what happened? Oh, we made up, we talked it through. Oh, he just gonna get off the hook that easily? Or you just gonna let her just walk all over you? And it's like, well, but remember, you kind of gave them a pass to have a say because you provided them that information. So again, I think it's normal and natural for people to just kind of vent and share certain things. I just think you have to be careful as to how much of it you share, and make sure it's not going to damage, the character of your person, because you will make up. Mm-hmm. And then when you make up, that character that has been, a little part of that's been ruined, it's hard for the other person that is vouching for you to kind of understand as quickly as you would. Mm-hmm. what was that again? Because I think there was something.
Find mentors who have strong, lasting marriages.
Okay. So I would like to say something about that.
Sure.
I totally agree with that. I feel like a lot of times people feel like, oh, they've been married for 30 years. So, they'll be the perfect person. And it's like, well, it depends. Just because they've been married for 30 years doesn't mean that they're actually happy.
Mm-hmm.
They might just be existing.
Mm-hmm.
They might just, because it's been a long time, they're just there. Some people that have been married for that length of time, I have come across some that have literally told me themselves that they do their own thing. Meaning, not saying that they have relationships outside of their marriage, but they might go on trips with the ladies. They rarely go on trips with each other. They do activities and stuff where it doesn't incorporate their person. It's mostly, well, he do him and I do me. But they live together. They share bills. The kids are pretty much out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, if you decide to seek a mentor or just gravitate to someone who can be a good example, try to pay attention to how they actually are in their relationship. How do they stand in their relationship? And it can't just be because of how long they've been married. We have a lot of us that have parents that have been married for 40 years, 50 years, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? You also grew up with them. So you also know a lot of the things that may have transpired in that household that also may have contributed to some of your trauma, meaning maybe yelling in the house, maybe punishments and, different things like that. And may not have always gotten along, maybe, back in the day, there were married men that will leave and that was normal. They would go, leave out for a while and then they would come back home and that was normal. I mean, I'm talking like way back in the day. And these are stories that I've heard from people that have been married for like 50 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just how it was.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it's a whole lot different. But I would say that, just evaluate, because you will find that those have been married to one person for that length of time. You have to see if they've actually been changing with that person, meaning all of the different phases were they continuing to learn and grow with that person and not just there and just like, oh, well, yeah, I'm here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's important. To be honest, you can actually learn a lot from people who may not have even been married from that, for that long. Mainly because they really intentionally want to do things the right way and different.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This week's story came from some clients of ours. For the sake of the story, we'll call them Thomas and Heather. And so Thomas and Heather had been in a community for a long time. They had moved to a new city and they had befriended this community when they first moved into their first neighborhood. They had known them. They had been in this city, I think, for about almost 20 years. And this community that they're in was a community they could come to rely on. Unfortunately, in this community, lots of those in this community who were married had suffered divorces. And this kind of caused some fractions and challenges in the community. And Thomas and Heather found themselves very torn. More specifically, Heather found herself torn at times with just the nature of the changing of the demographics or changing of the relationships in this community. And then some of what those wives were engaged in that really made it really strenuous for her own family. And so the two of them really struggled with this placement of just trying to figure out, like, how do we stay cool with these people we've been friends with for so long, yet they're changing so much. And they really had to do some soul searching, and they just decided to kind of remove themselves from this community and really just focus on, themselves and their family. And once they did that, then a lot of peace started to come back into their marriage, because they started to feel like they were straining and suffering and having some issues themselves. But really the issue was just that this community had changed and they hadn't mimicked the dynamic of what was happening in this community. And they really had to do some soul searching for themselves to kind of remove themselves and just go back in to reconnect, to bring themselves back together so that they could take care of their family and their unit. And it was not an easy decision. And I'm sure there are many of you out there who might be in situations similar as you've kind of gone through life. And it's not always the easiest decision, but you have to remember the most important person is the person you're married to. And the two of you have to come together. No matter what's happening in your communities or around you, you have to come together to work together so that you can work on keeping your unity together.
I've been feeling invisible lately, like I don't matter to you the way I used to. In the beginning, I felt seen, valued, and important. Now, I feel like just part of the routine, like I've faded into the background of your life.
I didn't know you felt that way. Honestly, I've been hurting too. It feels like you've given your time and energy to everyone else, your friends, your work, and I'm left wondering if you even love me the way you used to. I don't want us to feel like this. I just want to be loved by you, fully like we did before.
If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone you believe this messaging will really help them. The only way this grows and we get this message out to as many people as possible is if you share it with your communities. So please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, please like. We need those. The algorithm loves the likes. We love the likes. And make sure you share this with those out in your community. If you need any information related to the work that Sophie and I are doing, please visit our website at trueconnection.love. And we look forward to seeing you next episode. Later.
Stay connected.
Stay in love.
And we'll see you next episode.